Ode to the West Wind, I've done a lot of collaborations with Elisa. I always love
Yeah.
working with her. We do this thing where we do songs based on famous poems a lot, and this one is based on Ode to the West Wind by Percy Shelley.
Yep.
So I thought it would be a wonderful kind of continuation of our theme in collaborations. And I don't know when this album is coming, or when this interview is coming out. When is it going out?
Yeah, we're actually going to have it out next week.
Okay, then I won't spoil anything, but
All right.
the fact
That's
that
cool.
I have something to spoil here should also tell you something.
Yep. What's up, everyone? This is Ryan with Ethereal Metal, and I'm here today with Charlotte Wessels, and we're going to be discussing her upcoming full-length studio and solo release, The Obsession, releasing September 20th via NAPALM. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat today, Charlotte.
Sure, thank you so much for covering the record. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to chatting with you. How have you been?
Good. It's a hectic time. We're getting ready for the release. We're getting ready for our live shows. We had our first 2 weeks ago, and so writing a song, writing and releasing a song every month on Patreon. So
Yeah,
it's
that's awesome.
exciting. Working on the singles. There's so much happening at the same time. It's really cool.
Really awesome. That's awesome. And so before we start, I always like to ask, what have you been listening to lately?
I'm actually really into this playlist that I have now. It's called classical metal bangers or
Oh, cool.
classical bangers. It's actually just classical music, but I got there through a metal playlist, which was like classical music for metalheads. And then yeah, I've been kind of on a classical music vibe these days, but I'm also really enjoying, like, we're going on tour with Vola soon, and I'm like
Yeah, yeah.
listening to everything that they're putting out now, which is great.
That's
Zeal and
awesome.
Harder. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. I've been through the promo. I have to say, for the Obsession several times now. I think fans are gonna absolutely love this album. Um, yeah, it's gonna be an incredible ride. Everything from the arrangements, melodies, collaborations that are involved, lyrics, just the overall sound. It's clear this album is filled not only with deep-seated emotion, but I think it's really gonna reach fans on a really deep personal level.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, absolutely. So the title, The Obsession, to me suggests a deep, almost possibly consuming focus. Can you delve into what this concept represents for you personally and how it shaped the overall narrative?
So when I wanted to, like, I've made a very conscious choice to start working on songs that kind of work together as a whole in terms of sound mostly, and but I didn't necessarily want to write a concept record. It was only when I sat down, I think it was in February of this year, when I sat down with the songs where I thought, okay, I think these ones are going to make it to the album. And I told myself to, I was kind of looking like, okay, so what is really the overarching theme, if any, or red thread that's going through the album? And I gave myself one sentence to describe from every song what it's about. And that's actually when I found out that I had unintentionally written an album about fear,
Right, right.
about like intrusive thoughts, about the escapes from fear as well. But that it was very much centered around that. And I've been, how do you say it? I've been kind of actively working with my own fears a lot more. I was diagnosed with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder,
Sure, sure.
a while ago. And at first, I couldn't really recognize myself in this. I'm not the, how from popular media, you will often see like a very strong focus on the compulsions, while I have stronger obsessions than compulsions.
Sure, sure.
And I thought, if this is what it is about, then maybe I should call it that, and maybe I should also be open about the fact that that is what it is about, because I don't think that it's necessarily a record that people will only relate to if they have the same challenges. But I do think that fear itself is very universal,
Absolutely.
that we all deal with it in one way or another. And so yeah, I thought the obsession, I thought it fit the theme of the album. It fit the songs. At the same time, I also just really like the word. I think it's a strong title, and I've been kind of looking for a name for the band as well, because I put this album out under my own name. Like that was a conscious decision, but the
Yeah,
band
yeah.
is very important for the sound, so I call them the Obsession now, like Charlotte and
Ah,
the
that's awesome.
yeah.
Nice. Maybe we'll be looking for an official name change, huh?
Yeah, who knows? I'm on the fence about it, but I like the fact
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
can say, because I also do guest things and other, uh,
Sure.
and it's like I want people to know if I say like I'll be bringing the obsession with me, that this is what I'll be doing,
Right, right, for sure.
without them. So,
That's awesome. Cool. And I have to say, thank you for being so open and willing to talk about, whether it's mental health or diagnoses. I personally, I work in healthcare, and during COVID, I was diagnosed with panic and anxiety disorder. So I've always been a huge advocate for mental health, and I think it's really important to talk about it and break those stigmas surrounding it. So I think it's going to be really cool to have so many people be able to relate to, whether it be the same diagnosis that you referred to or other things in the mental health struggles. I think hearing this music is going to be a big help for a lot of people. So it's really cool that you're willing to talk about that. So I know you talked about it a little bit, but themes like fear and escapism are obviously very central to the album. How do you find the balance between exploring these darker themes but maintaining a connection with your listeners who might be experiencing similar emotions?
um, often when I write the songs, and then the lyrics particularly, like I try to keep it really close to me, because I think that the only way to really get there is to be authentic about it. But one thing that I do, like I often personify like my own demon,
Yeah,
and that kind of makes it easier to look at the subject or what I'm talking about from different angles. Like I always feel like it's kind of a cliche, but sometimes if I'll be going through something, like the only thing that can make it feel better is to actually work with it, write a song about it. But that's a very selfish reason to make music. But for me, then to put out the music, my rule is generally that I feel that other people should be able to relate to it, and other people should be able to actually get something from it. So I also think that the songs on this record, like The Obsession as a title, might be linked to my OCD, but fear itself is such a universal thing that I think you don't have to be facing the exact same challenges in order
for
to
sure.
be
Absolutely.
recognizing what the songs are about.
No, that's great. Cool. And the collaboration with fellow musicians, including some ex-Delane bandmates, suggested a really strong creative synergy. How did their contributions influence the evolution of the songs from their initial stages at the home studio to their final form on The Obsession?
Yeah, heavily so. Like for some songs, it was just a matter of, okay, we have these songs, we're going to make the arrangement bigger and better, and and it's going to be heavier through their
Sure.
performance of the songs. But other songs also changed, like on a more deeper level. Like for example, Dopamine. When the first version of it that I put on Patreon was only harp and vocals, and now on the album it appears as a full band version.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of a for me it was a very nice process, because I got to be like, because the songs are so personal, it's nice for me to be able to write them like in a very kind of introspective way. So I still wrote the songs here in the basement, and then I put them on the Patreon. And then for kind of the next stage, then the band was really involved, and I was also like super grateful for that involvement. Timo was really involved in like the arrangements and then getting everything ready for the band recordings, and then uh, and we did those band recordings all together. We started with the drum recordings, which we did all together in the studio, or
Ah,
Joe
nice.
did with all
Yeah,
of us in the studio, like playing along.
cool.
So that was like the band process was really like, yeah, like you said, we have of course a very long history together and a strong personal connection, but it was really wonderful to share that musical synergy that we have as well
For
against.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Cool. And I know, like on Dopamine, for example, you had Simone, Ode to the West Wind, you had Elisa White-Gluz, showcasing obviously very powerful female collaborations as well. How did those two specific collaborations come about, and do you feel that their voices enhanced the storytelling?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
In the case of Dopamine, I felt like it really tied in with Simone and my own connection, because the song is about the numbness that I experienced when I was on antidepressants a while ago. And the
sure.
very first time that I opened up about that in public was in an interview, and Simone read it and reached or watched it and reached out to me right after, like, "Hey, let's chat," which was very nice of her. And we connected, and we did some collaborations after that. And of course, we knew each other before that, but I feel like we grew closer to each other then. And
That's
then when I
awesome.
the first version of the song out on Patreon, she actually texted me again saying like, "Oh, I really like the song. I've had it on repeat." So that's when I thought, it's kind of the topic that we bonded over,
For sure. Yeah, yeah.
and she likes the song, so this would be a perfect one to do as a duet if it comes on the album. And well, the rest is history.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. And for Ode to the West Wind, I've done a lot of collaborations with Elisa. I always love
Yeah.
working with her. We do this thing where we do songs based on famous poems a lot, and this one is based on Ode to the West Wind by Percy Shelley.
Yep.
So I thought it would be a wonderful kind of continuation of our theme in collaborations. And I don't know when this album is coming, or when this interview is coming out. When is it going out?
Yeah, we're actually gonna have it out next week.
Okay, then I won't spoil anything. But
All right,
the fact
that's cool.
that I have something to spoil here should also tell you something.
Yep, yep, definitely. All right, cool. So we'll be looking forward to that for sure. So I wanted to chat really quick. The song "Soft Revolution," reimagined fan favorite. What inspired you to revisit this song, and how does the new form resonate differently?
So we had perform like, I didn't think that there was anything particularly wrong with the version that exists from Tales from 6 Feet Under.
Sure.
However, when we performed it live, I feel like there was always some magic happening. Timo's guitar solo always made everyone cry. Having the band on there was just it. It was always a very special moment, and I wanted to bring some of that to the recording of the song. So this was the only one with the tail songs where I really felt like, oh, I wish I had a version with the entire band on there.
For sure.
And so that's why we chose to revisit this one for the Obsession.
Ah, cool. Very cool. Um, so there's a dark sensuality almost kind of present in songs like Solstice and Serpentine. Can you discuss a little bit about the inspiration behind those tracks and how you approach blending, like that sensuality with darker, more melancholic themes?
I think that at one point or another, and it's usually a good sign, but even, in our darkest moments, there will be times where there's just this deep, deep desire for beauty, for peace, for touch, for that kind of connection. Um, and yeah, some of these songs, like Solstice, is really, I think that Solstice is just an ode to beauty and summer and
Yeah, yeah.
love and physicality, and it's almost like a bacchanal, it's about
Uh-huh.
wine. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that is also like a form of escapism also.
Sure, sure.
For a while, I even considered calling the album Solstice, but I thought in the end that that was a bit too optimistic for the rest of the album. Like it was kind of an outlier in its,
Yeah, sure, sure,
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Cool. And you also mentioned each song on the album kind of sort of functions like almost like an exorcism, right? Like kind of like casting out a little bit of fear. Can you share a little bit more about that cathartic process and how it shaped the songwriting project?
And I think, like I said, like often when I'll be going through like a specific thought pattern or when I'm really stuck in a certain feeling or fear or obsessive thought or um, uh, making something out of it, through music or just writing can also work, like writing
Sure.
words or is kind of the only way that will kind of break the pattern. Um, and I mean, a song like The Exorcism is probably the most obvious example because that really took one of those concerns and screamed it all out. And in a way, like it solves nothing, but at the end of it, you'll feel better. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how it works with me with a lot of these songs. Also with the crying room, for example, which was really about the fear of failure before a performance. I kind of had already like this thought of, oh, and now I'll have to perform the song, and then I'll be afraid of performing the song, which is about being afraid of performing the song. And it's
And
like
then you
this
get stuck in that
weird
loop.
meta moment where you
Yep,
get stuck
yep.
in a loop, and I'll probably have to write another song about that to get out of it. So
For
yeah,
sure, for
yeah.
sure. That room hit hard. Sorry, that song really hit hard, when I was listening to it. My very last question for you, as someone who has successfully built a loyal fan base through platforms like Patreon, how has your connection with your fans influenced the direction of the obsession? And were there any specific fan interactions or feedback that directly impacted the creation?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Of course, because the patrons, since I'm doing the song of the month every month, and I made it a part of the
Sure,
songwriting album for this record, like I put the songs on Patreon in their first incarnation, and it did give me like there were songs which I was particularly excited about. And if you see that this is also the songs that get like a big reaction on Patreon, this is very encouraging. This is very motivating.
sure, sure.
They're very supportive, so I'm not sure if they would be like, "Oh, I hate this song," if I would put something there that was not to their liking. But you
Right,
can
right.
generally see, which are the songs that kind of hit hard, which get like the biggest
Cool.
reaction from the patrons. And yeah, of course, this is very motivating and very encouraging, and those are yeah. I think like I always try to stick with myself when it comes to like the creative decisions, um but I do think that on a subconscious level and maybe even on a conscious level, to see, which songs get those big responses kind of plays a role also in how you approach like, okay, which are going to make it on the album and things like
Sure,
that.
sure. Yeah. All right, cool. Charlotte, thank you again really so much for taking the time to chat today. I know you're super busy. Again, it's going to be releasing September 20th, NAPALM Records. Thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.